Hey, imagine you could move a 3D model exactly like you would move it in your hand. That's exactly where a 3D mouse comes in. But what does that even mean? What can a mouse like this do? And should you get one? Those are exactly the questions we want to answer today. I think the most important question first is, what is a 3D mouse? It's this thing right here. The special thing about it, it has 6 degrees of freedom. The cap can be pushed, pulled, twisted and tilted. That's how you pan, zoom and rotate your model. It doesn't replace your normal mouse. It goes in your left hand as an addition. So it's a complement to your normal mouse. Specifically today we're looking at the Space Mouse Wireless from 3D Connexion. We will look at the hardware, go deep in the software and test the thing out. And at the end I will tell you exactly for who this mouse is actually for. 3D Connexion provided me with this mouse and this video is sponsored, but my opinion is still my own and you will see that in a moment. Let's start briefly with what is in the box. We get a carrying case, a charging cable and a receiver for the connection. I have the wireless version here, but you can choose whether to connect via dongle or via Bluetooth. I use Bluetooth and it runs absolutely stable. There is also a cheaper wired version. The battery on the 3D mouse lasts forever too. I only have to charge it once so far. When you unbox one of these for the first time, you immediately see that this is not a toy. As soon as you pick it up, you notice that it's really heavy. The mouse weighs almost half a kilo. That sounds like a lot for a mouse at first, but there's a really important reason for that. You don't move the mouse itself, you only move the joystick. That's why the mouse has to sit firmly and must not slide around. The underslide reinforced this even more. It's rubberized and really keeps the mouse in place. Now let's get to the exciting part. How all of this actually works in practice. When you get the mouse, you still need to download the driver. So the mouse works probably. In theory, you can just jump straight into Fusion and start moving. But I would hold off on that first. You also get a little trainer included. And I would definitely use that first. Here you learn exactly how the mouse works. Because in the beginning it's really not that easy. Especially in the first 15 minutes. You will probably just fly around completely out of control. In this trainer, individual axes are disabled so that you really learn how to navigate. There is also a puzzle you can solve. I found I learned a lot, especially from that. The idea behind the 3D mouse is that you move your models exactly like you would with your hand. If you want to lift it up, you pull the stick. If you want to rotate it, you twist the stick, either to the right or to the left. It feels like you're reaching directly in the screen. It takes a while to develop this feeling. Especially in the beginning, it takes a lot of time till you have a feeling for it. It's really complicated, but after that, it feels amazing. One really important point that a lot of people getting wrong is that the 3D mouse does not replace your normal mouse. It's just an addition. You can see it here on my desk. On the right is the normal mouse, on the left the 3D mouse. But why both? Because the 3D mouse has only one job, to navigate. Everything else, clicking, selecting and so on, still happens with your normal mouse. And if you're left-handed, no problem, the mouse is symmetrical, so it can be used right or left, it doesn't matter. The interesting thing about this particular 3D mouse is that an extremely large number of programs are supported. As far as I know, about 300 programs, and among them basically all slicers. Whether it's Orca, Anycubic, Creality, Prusa, Slicer, you name it. And the nice thing is that you don't have to change anything. That means if you were just in Fusion and switch to your slicer, it works flawlessly and you don't have to change anything. You can also check the program list on the website, just type in your program and you see whether it's supported or not. Of course, now you're asking yourself, does a mouse like this even bring some advantage in the slicer? Or is it just for CAD only? The advantage here is that you can get much closer to your 3D model. With a 3D mouse, I feel like you have a much better feel for your model and above all, much finer control. When I'm checking certain overhangs, I really like this mouse. For normal slicer use, just upload a print and press slice, you really don't need it. It's more for those detailed models where you're not quite sure if you need support or whether the overhangs will work. What makes the Space Mouse so cool is the customization. The small model has two physical buttons on the side. What does that mean for you? You can freely assign these buttons exactly like you want. By default, they often opened a so-called radial menu on the screen. That's like a virtual menu that appears on the screen and you can store shortcuts for Fusion 360, for example. So I just need to press this button and I can select extrude and I can extrude the thing here. So for standard shortcuts, you don't really need to use your keyboard. But to be honest, to this day, I still often use the keyboard because it's just in my head, these shortcuts. But I will try to retrain myself because with the Space Mouse, it's much faster than with the keyboard. The nice thing is you can also customize quite a lot of other things. There are two settings you should change right after installation. First, the speed. Out of the box, it's set pretty high and at the beginning I would turn it down a little bit because it can be a little bit too fast. And secondly, you can completely lock individual axes. For example, you can turn off tilting because this can be a little bit hard at the start. One point that often gets overlooked is ergonomics. If you do long CAD sessions, your mouse hand will eventually be a little bit tired and can hurt sometimes. With the Space Mouse, you spread it between both of your hands. The strain is basically cut in half. There's actually even a study from the Fraunhofer Institute that the manufacturer refers to. The thing is, I can't fully sign 100% of it. Here's a quick tip first. When you work with the mouse, you have to grip it relatively far down so you can work precisely. Personally, I don't find it much more revealing because your arm needs to be relatively straight for it to work, and I find it to be a little bit unhandy. There are also other 3D mouse models, for example the Space Mouse Pro Wireless, but in my opinion that's an absolute overkill for the private person. It becomes interesting when you are professional and you spend multiple hours every day in CAD, but for the normal person it's too much. So the mouse I have here costs $213, taxes included. And that's a lot of money. If you only slice finished STLs and maybe every few months you design something yourself, you absolutely do not need this mouse. This mouse is a nice addition, but not necessary. But if you want to optimize your workflows and enjoy those smooth camera scenes, then the Space Mouse is an absolute brilliant tool. It simply makes working in CAD much more organic and fluid. So if you have the budget and spend a lot of time designing your own models, you can check out the first link in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you for watching.